Hey everyone, so let's jump right into a really big question today. When we think about creativity, is that impulse a sign of chaos, a disorder, or is it maybe a reflection of something divine? Let's get into it.
So if I say the word artist, what's the first image that just pops into your head? For a lot of us, right, it's the stereotype of the tortured genius. They're brilliant, for sure, but also their life is kind of a complete mess. And this isn't just some trope from the movies. It's this cultural idea we've all kind of absorbed, that to be truly creative, you've got to be a little bit broken, maybe a little bit chaotic. And that perception, well, it has real consequences. But what if that whole narrative is just wrong? What if the Bible offers a totally different perspective, one that sees creativity not as a disorder at all, but as a direct reflection of the divine? That's exactly what we're going to explore. Okay, so to really get to the bottom of this, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. We're going to trace creativity right back to its original source. I mean, look at this. It's the very first verse of the entire Bible. The first thing we learn about God isn't that he's all-powerful or all-knowing, but that he is a creator. The whole universe kicks off with this profound act of creation. And this idea, it just runs through the whole biblical story. The New Testament echoes it so powerfully here in the book of John. It's saying that creation is absolutely central to who God is. Everything you see, everything that exists, was brought into being through a divine creative act. Now, to really get this, we have to look at the original Hebrew. The word used in Genesis for created is bara. Now, this doesn't just mean to make or to assemble from stuff that's already there. It means to create something out of absolute nothingness, a power that the text says belongs to God and God alone. And here's where it all connects for us. When the Bible says we are made in God's image, it's saying we reflect that creative nature. Our ability to imagine, to design, to make new things, that isn't some glitch in our programming. No, it's a core feature. We are literally designed to be co-creators. So let's see how this plays out in this incredible story from the book of Exodus. Because right there at the foot of Mount Sinai, you've got two huge creative projects about to happen. And they're driven by two completely opposite feelings. First up, you've got the golden calf. So Moses is up on the mountain, and the people down below start to get really scared. They feel totally abandoned. And out of that fear, that desperation, they demand an idol. So their leader, Aaron, tells them, "Rip off your jewelry." This is creation born from pure anxiety and pressure. Meanwhile, up on the mountain, God is giving Moses a completely different set of blueprints for the tabernacle, a place for his presence to dwell. And just notice how the materials are gathered. It's not a demand, it's an invitation, an offering from anyone whose heart prompts them to give. It's totally voluntary. So you see these two paths of creation, right there, side by side. One is fueled by fear, and it results in an idol that's built from demanded, ripped-off resources. And the other is fueled by purpose, resulting in a sacred space built from the abundance of willing hearts. Just a world of difference. Now, this story of the tabernacle, it's not just some piece of ancient history. It actually gives us a blueprint, a kind of divine model for how we can approach our own creative work with real purpose. And this blueprint, it's got three key parts that we can see so clearly in the instructions for the tabernacle: order, provision, and ability. Let's break those down real quick. First, there's order. Unlike the chaotic, panicked creation of the calf, God's plan for the tabernacle is incredibly meticulous. He's the master architect here. Every single detail is spelled out. Every quantity is exact. No shortages, no last-minute surprises. This is what creation looks like when it starts with a clear and complete vision. Second, there's provision. Okay, God's plan needs resources, of course, but they are not taken by force. He's the ultimate provider, and he moves people's hearts to give freely, to give joyfully. And this just shows that purpose-driven creation, it's funded by generosity, not by guilt or fear. And finally, ability. And this part is it's amazing. To get the plan done, God doesn't just hand over instructions. He empowers people. He chooses this man named Bezalel, and as this verse says, fills him with the Spirit of God, giving him the wisdom, the knowledge, and all the skills needed to do the work. Get this. This is the very first person in the Bible who is explicitly filled with the Spirit for an artistic task. How cool is that? So what on earth does this ancient tent in the desert have to do with you and me today? Well, everything. Because that blueprint, It wasn't just for building a physical building. It's a model for how to build a life of purpose.
The reason this matters so much is that the New Testament basically says the location of God's dwelling place has moved. The Apostle Paul writes this totally radical idea to the church in Corinth. He's arguing that the tabernacle, the temple, they were all pointing to something new. And the new dwelling place for God's Spirit, well, it's you.
The Christian belief is that through what Jesus did, that separation between God and humanity was completely bridged. And the implication of that is just profound. You are now the living temple, the sacred space where God's Spirit can live. Your life itself is the new tabernacle.
And that, of course, brings us to the ultimate question. If your life is that sacred space, then what are you going to build with the divine creative gifts that you've been given?
So when you're facing uncertainty, are you going to react out of fear and start building golden calves, relying on your own limited ideas and resources? Or will you follow that divine blueprint? Will you partner with the Creator to build something beautiful and lasting, a life of real purpose?
So here's the takeaway. Your creativity was never, ever a disorder. It is a divine design. It's a gift that's meant to build, to bless, and to bring glory to the original Creator. So whether you're creating a song, a business, a meal, or just a conversation, you are called to create. Thanks so much for joining me for this.